All right, we're back talking about Sigmund Freud and psychoanalysis. As you know, psychoanalysis is the study that behaviors originate mostly from our unconscious. Yes, psychoanalysis, brought to us by Sigmund Freud, because we're talking about Sigmund Freud. So let's talk about his instincts. Remember, last time I asked, what are the two things that are motivating you most? Sigmund Freud would say, sex and or aggression, right? Let me also ask you this question as we go on. Have you ever felt that there's different parts of you, almost different parts of you that are fighting to make a decision? Like you're being pulled between almost two different types of personalities? Well, Freud talks about that, and maybe this little insight will help explain why you are the way you are. Freud certainly thinks so. Let's get into this already. So, instincts are the mental representation of internal stimuli, such as hunger, that drive a person to take certain actions. So the motivating forces that drive behavior and determine its direction are known as these instincts. It's this idea that we're kind of born with instincts. And this leads to a wish, which leads to motivation, which leads to actions, and these actions reduce tension, right? So I have an instinct to eat. I wish I had some food. I'm motivated to bite down on some goods, and this leads me to actually find some food and eat some more bugles at 3 a.m. while I can't stop watching Netflix. Damn it. But once I eat that, there's a reduction in tension where I just feel like I'm a disgusting slob. What did I do? It's 4 a.m. and I just ate a whole box of bugles and I've watched every single episode of Vampire Diaries. What's wrong with me? So Freud said we're all born with instincts, but he said there's two main instincts, and this is the bread and butter. The two things that motivate us most. There's our life instincts, known as Eros, and the death instincts, known as Thanatos. Now you're going to learn Sigmund Freud, big fan of Greek mythology and Roman mythology and whatnot, and Eros is basically like this Cupid figure, and Thanatos is the equivalent of death. Like it was a bad thing if you saw Thanatos on your shoulder or behind someone, like, woe is you, for nay I see Thanatos upon thine shoulder. Means bad things are happening. But life instincts, well, how do we create life? With sex. And how do we create death? With murder. So let's talk about these instincts in greater detail, right? Meow. So life instinct, Eros, the drive for ensuring survival of the individual and the species by satisfying the need for food, water, air, and sex. Freud describes something specific known as our libido. It's this psychic energy manifested by the life instincts, and that drives a person towards pleasurable behaviors and thoughts. So libido is this energy. So someone with a really high libido, and specifically when we're talking about Freud, it was sex libido. Someone with a really high libido, really energetic and really trying to get laid. But someone with a really low libido is probably someone who just had sex. And now they're either asleep or not really motivated to do anything. And cathexis is a Freudian vocabulary term that you should know if you're in my class and you're taking a test. That's a great vocabulary term for some of the memorization. But it's an investment of psychic energy in an object or a person. So cathexis is kind of like love but attraction in a more Freudian word. So I'm cathected to my wife, right? I've invested a lot of energy into my wife and my attraction to my wife and that sort of jazz. So now when you hear the word cathected, you know what it means. It's a Freudian word. So that's cathexis. But now let's talk about not the instinct to have sex, not Eros, but woe is Thanatos, the death instinct. This is the unconscious drive towards decay, destruction, and aggression. Freud described it as our aggressive drive, the compulsion to destroy, conquer, and kill. He described it as the wish to die turned against objects other than the self, because realistically, according to Freud, we get so angry at ourselves. God, I'm so stupid. What am I doing? And you just want to kill yourself, but you shouldn't, and you don't want to, and that's really dark to think about. So we suppress and repress that idea that we want to kill ourselves, and instead we project it and we kind of displace this aggression from ourselves onto other individuals. And those vocabulary terms I just used, sublimate, I didn't actually use that one, I'm sorry, projection, displace, those are all defense mechanisms, which we'll talk about in another video. I can't wait. But we got to finish this. So that's the death instinct. It's the idea that we all want to die, but instead of realizing that, we put it on others. That's why it feels so good to hurt others. In fact, I think some of you watching this video right now have probably spent some time watching videos of someone getting hurt. Oh, we laugh when someone gets hit in the junk with a football or something like that. But anyway, these are the two instincts. So let's move on from the instincts and go to the structure of the personality, where we actually have different components of our personality and different levels of our consciousness. Remember, Freud said, you think you know what you're doing, you think you know your motivation? Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's look at this iceberg, shall we? The iceberg. The iceberg has different levels. So here I'm going to get my little cursor out here. Look at this penguin, cute little guy, little seal. Actually, wait, that's a sea lion. Big difference. I know I'm showing off right now. Killer whale. Wait, I'm wasting time. Let's get to this. Here on this side is the different levels of consciousness. The tip of the iceberg is what you're aware of. This is known as your consciousness, right? Then you have what's underneath that is the PreConscious. PreConscious is just below the surface level, but is still easily made conscious. It's Freud's fancy explanation of long-term memories. Like right now, you're not thinking about the first time you rode your bike. But now think about the first time you rode your bike. You're able to reach into the water and pull out this memory of riding a bike. And that's why it's in your PreConscious. But deeper than that are these thoughts, feelings, and urges which we cannot access. These are the unconscious, right? So we talked about PreConscious, but now I want to talk about the unconscious. And notice that there's so much more to this iceberg in the unconscious than there is in the PreConscious or consciousness. And Freud said, that's who you are. Most of who you are comes from this unconscious. You don't know why you're taking this class, really. You don't know why you're so angry, because it's in the unconscious. You don't realize that the reason you do everything is because you either want to have sex with it or kill it. No, because when I suggest that, you would say, that's not what's motivating me. But Freud would say, you're lying to yourself. It's buried deep in your unconscious. So let's talk about these other vocabulary terms on the other side, the ego, superego, and id. There's these three different parts of your personality, each of which live at a different level. For instance, you have the ego, which is out in the open. That's your consciousness. This is you. Ego is a fancy word for self. For instance, someone who's really egotistical is also known as very self-centered because ego equals self. So, ego, that's you. It's your rational, planful. This is kind of like the mediator between what we're going to talk about, the superego and the id. Let's go down deep and talk about the id. This is the really impulsive dimension of yourself. According to Freud, we're born with the id, and this lives off of this premise of instant gratification. It's the part of you that says, yes, take, now, It's the one that is hidden that says, yes, sex, murder, yes. But as we start getting older, our society and our parents tell us, no, you can't do that. You can't just murder anyone you want to, and you can't just have sex with everything. You just gotta calm down. So the superego is taught to us, and the superego is in our PreConscious. Because if we think about it, when we're faced with a moral decision, we can ask ourselves, well, what does society say is the right decision to make? And what would my parents want me to do? So that's conscious. And we have this war between these two sides of ourselves. The war between the id, yes, that immediate gratification, and the war between the superego, this angel, if you will, that tells us, no, you have to be perfect. Don't do anything wrong. But is that realistic? There's three parts to our personality, according to Freud. And if you think about it, it is this war between the devil and angel. But who's between that devil and angel? Well, it's going to be you. So we talked about the id, the superego, and the ego, but check this out. This is Kronk. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen Emperor's New Groove. I like it, one of my Disney favorites. But notice how there's the devil and angel, and they're both telling Kronk what to do. Kronk sees a wallet on the ground. It's not his wallet. What is he going to do? Uh-oh. That's my cue. I gotta end this thing. So the devil's gonna tell Kronk, hey, take that wallet. They don't need it. If they really needed it, they would have left it there. I mean, they wouldn't have left it there. They would have taken it. But the angel is going to tell Kronk, no, don't take the wallet. Just find out whose wallet it is and return it to the person. But then Kronk gets to make the decision. And are those the only two decisions? Can Kronk just steal the wallet or find the owner and return it? No! There's so many decisions in between. Like he could take the wallet, take the money, but return the ID and everything else back to the owner. So think of this. Who's the devil? Who's the angel? And who's Kronk? Apply it to you. Who's your devil? Who's your angel? And who are you? That's the ego, superego, and the id. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this next time because we're going to talk about the id, ego, and superego in greater detail. I can't wait. So tune in to the 5th installment. And we're going to try to bring this to a close sooner than later. All right.